keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame. Keep the flame. Keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame on. Flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on. Gotta 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 keep the flame. Keep the flame. Keep the flame on.
Ladies and gentlemen, football fans of North Central Ohio, you are now entering the Friday Night Pigskin. So get strapped in, lace them tight and get right for big hits, top plays, and highlights. All coming your way from under the Friday Night Lights. The most exciting sounds and sights, gridiron action to serve your viewing delights. Let's go. Friday Night Lights, get hyped, it's Friday night.
It's going to be a pass.
Again.
He's going to throw it.
Open.
And it's picked off! Owen Becker!
Oh, my goodness.
So there it is, a big play at the Castle. You're going to have to see why it was so monumental coming up when we go into the K-Mac report a little bit later on. But how about this? Week 8 already of the Friday Night Pigskin. The season moving right along, just a couple weeks away from playoff action. My name is Brian Skoronsky. I am the host, and if you look at some of the matchups here tonight, we had a lot of the top teams in leagues taking on some of the bottom feeders, a couple of big games, one from the Northern 10 that we've got highlights for, and an upset perhaps maybe in a lot of people's minds that we'll show you on the way here in just a little bit. But even if your favorite team didn't show out, Mother Nature certainly did. What a gorgeous night for high school football, and we've been so blessed with that basically the entire season long, setting up some really fun matchups, including our first highlight of the night, the game that I did this evening over in Belleville at the Colt Corral, where Clear Fork just 2 wins, but coming off of one last week where they had to come from behind and they stunned Harding on a touchdown in the final minute, taking on the defending conference champions in Shelby, who, oh, by the way, state ranked, rolled in with a lot of momentum, looking to go to 8-0 on the season. We'll show you how it played out tonight. We'll begin with a little bit of trickery here in the second quarter. Shelby already up a score. The jet sweep, the throwback to Braden DeVito, who jukes him for a touchdown, but a pink flag nullifies it all. The Whippets would roll the dice here. 4th down, and DeVito throws it incomplete, looking for Brady Bowman. Ensuing Clear Fork drive now. They roll the dice, 2 on 4th down, but Marcus Hoflick gets sacked by Kyler Williams. They'll give it right back over to the Whippets, who on this play, 12-yard line, final seconds ticking off the clock. They had 8 to begin the play, and they come up empty-handed. That was a 1st down, so it's only 7-0 Whippets up at the half. Opening drive of the 3rd quarter for them, and DeVito finds Caden Price, who scorches by Davis Hoflick. 92-yard house call, only it didn't count. Another pink flag would wipe it out. This kid had a 66-yarder earlier in the game that did count, which made it 7-0. But how about this? The Colts ensuing possession play action. Nice fake, and Hoflick finds Jay Jackson. We're all square. 3:39 to go in the 3rd, and on homecoming night, the Colts look like they're going to stun the Whippets. Only 1 minute later, the turning point in the game. Michael Shepard gets lost off the line. DeVito finds him. 46 yards later, he's in the back of the end zone. Final play now of the 3rd quarter, just a couple minutes later. They single up Price again. No safety help. Goodbye. 64 yards. He will roll into the end zone. It's a 2-score difference. Now later in the 4th, Marcus Gumbert caps off a Shelby drive here, reaching, breaking the goal line. It's 27-7. DeVito had an absolutely huge statistical night. It felt like he was kind of quiet before late in the 3rd quarter. He would go off for 446 through the air. Here he is finding his favorite target, Brady Bowman. He had a bunch of those yards here tonight. He would set up the final score. Sam Gwertz off of the rotation, leaks out into the flat on 4th down, and Shelby would come back alive big time late in this game. 34-7, your final count out there at the Colt Corral. My color commentator tonight, Mr. Sean Adams, here in the building, making his Friday night Pigskin debut. And Sean, this game was a lot of fun, a lot of twists and turns throughout. But Shelby, by the end of the night, they showed why they're the Kings or the Giants in the league. What was your impressions of watching them, and more specifically, kind of that last quarter and a half where they took control?
Well, I like Clear Fork, the way that they played. They didn't change who they are. They played man-to-man, and that's who they are. And when you do that, you're going to live by the sword and die by the sword. And DeVito was quietly tonight just breaking all kinds of records, 400 and some yards passing.
Yeah.
They did take away his running ability. He is the 2nd leading rusher in the conference.
Correct.
They took that away, but they had 6 guys in the box, and they said, okay, you beat us throwing the ball, and that's what they did. And just a great game. I thought the turning point to the game was, do we have that up?
Oh, we do, Sean. Yeah, break this down.
I thought this was the turning point of the game. Shelby got a 1st down.
They were able to gain
They
some
hurried up to
significant-
the line and snuck Shepard in there as a tackle, but as a tackle, Clear Fork didn't recognize it, and that propelled them. That kind of gave them a little momentum right there, and they go up 14-7, and I think from there, Clear Fork's like, we gave it our best shot. And, I just thought that was a great call by Coach Mahaney. DeVito and all the boys executed it, but I thought that was the turning point of the game tonight.
Yeah, you definitely, you made mention of that on the broadcast, but certainly Braden DeVito, he came alive big time. That's why we got to nominate him for a phenom this week, unquestionably, when you put up all those yards. And it was the running ability that I was really expecting to see, Sean, and from talking to some other media members that get to see him on a regular basis, that's kind of what he does. They'll call a bunch of runs for him. That was not available tonight because, like you said, Clear Fork, they get up to the line of scrimmage, they man press you, and they make it really difficult. But, oh man, did he throw deep balls, and a lot of them right on the money. What other than that really makes this guy so difficult to defend?
Well, I think the way that he carries himself, he's a winner on the field, on the basketball court, in the classroom, at home, and that just carries over here to the football field. And just imagine what he would have had we not seen all those pink hankies. I mean, that's 150 yards right there. But, he's just smooth operator. And he just takes care of this offense. They have complete confidence in him to make all the throws. And if you want to take away the run, okay, we'll beat you with the pass. And that's what makes, I don't think I have any gray hair, do I? But I used to get gray hair watching these guys. I'm like, we took that away and then they beat you this way. And, you know, that's what makes it so difficult this day and age to be a high school defensive coordinator.
So some conversations, some chatter about him potentially being up for Ohio. Mr. Football gets in there on defense too and plays a little bit of D-back as well. So very impressed, of course, with what we saw from Braden DeVito. But, oh, by the way, on the other side of the county, there's another guy still on an undefeated team making a lot of noise from that quarterback position, Mr. Bod Penn Miller. He had Harding, the bottom feeder in the league, over at his place tonight. We'll show you how the Warriors took care of business, but not early on. How about Josiah Goodson from 2 yards out, 7-0. The Prexies are on top. Mason Van Turlberg's like, chill, y'all. I got this. 33 yards. How about the spin move, too? And just the brutality at which this dude runs with evens it up. Now here's Miller, and look at this, lobbing it in, single coverage. John Mahan does the rest, throws the defender off of him 70 yards. He'll make it into the end zone to put the Warriors up for the first time on the night. Here's Cooper Kilgore, a 30-yard field goal, 17-7. And now Van Tilburg again, the violence which he runs with, you gotta respect it. It's 24-7 Warriors. Take you third quarter now, just the second play from scrimmage, and Bob Penn throw up the deuces because he's peacing out. 52-yard touchdown run. Now all of a sudden it's a landslide. But Harding's like, you know what? We got some guys as well. This guy was good. Mr. Gooden, 78-yard touchdown run. 31-14, putting a little bit of pressure on them because this is just one play after that Miller score. But for the rest of the night, it would be 14-0. Ontario would outscore them. Here's Bod Penn to Landon Foltz from 6 yards out. That was 38-14. And those Warrior jumping jacks are after a big 45-14 victory. So Ontario remains undefeated at 8-0, obviously undefeated in the league as well. Well, Sean, we saw Braden DeVito with our own eyes. Now here in the highlights, Bod Penn Miller. He's a little bit different style of athlete. He's about 6'5", and he doesn't throw it quite as much as DeVito was asked to, but that running ability as a defensive coordinator, I mean, that's just got to give you absolute nightmares going into a game where you know at any given time the dude that touches the ball every time can just take off and fly.
Well, you know, it was 2 years ago that we saw Bod Penn as a sophomore in the playoffs at Arlen Field, and I thought, wow, are we going to be able to contain him then? And just to see the maturity of him, I can't believe how much thicker he's got. And then you couple that with all of his speed. You know, to me, he's one of these guys, if you get him going north and south, you might as well forget it. You know, DeVito might be a little bit shiftier, but I wouldn't say a whole lot. You know, Bod Penn gets the ball and he goes. And then when they extend the play, like I said earlier, you think you got him. They extend the play, make a move, boom, throw a touchdown pass. And it's just like, oh my goodness. You know, you do everything possible and then they just make play. And then you got this where he just throws it up. He's got a big wide receiver. You know, that stuff, explosive football is where it's at these days. And he's one of the explosive players.
Yeah, he's got to be a phenomenon again. Every single week that we've covered Ontario, we've tried to pick other guys. We want to mix it up and do some different things, but just too much Bod Penn yet again tonight. 451 total yards of offense for one guy. He and obviously what we saw from DeVito, I mean, wow. This head-to-head coming up next week, it's going to be something to see, Sean. I mean, if you might want to start getting your tickets or getting in line now because that game over in Shelby, that's going to be electrifying. 2 8-0 teams, basically with the league on the line. I mean, gosh, it's a, well, I don't know. I might try to talk my way into being at that game. I think it's going to be that much fun.
Do you need any help? Let me know. You know, just 2 guys from Richland County with this kind of talent is just impressive. And to see them go head-to-head, especially in the MOAC, you know, you wouldn't think of this conference as having these kind of elite athletes, but this conference is the real deal. And there's some good teams top to bottom in here, and Clear Fork proved that tonight. You know, they're going to sit there and fight and give you a chance, but, you know, next week is going to be an impressive game. You know, I wish I could be there. I wish both of them good luck, and I hope to see a clean, healthy game.
So Bob Penn-Miller, the leading rusher in the MOAC, goes for 186 more and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And Braden DeVito last week became the school's all-time leading passer, which is amazing because they've had dudes like Marshall Shepard and, of course, Brennan Armstrong. And he's already #1 in a long way to go there. Very much looking forward to that Week 9 matchup. But speaking of all the loaded talent that we have here in the MOAC, Sean, we got another game and another highlight. 2 teams that are right in the middle, kind of battling to be who is going to be that 3rd team within the league. Pleasant and Galleon, they went head-to-head tonight. We'll show you how that thing all played out. Here are the Tigers looking to end a 3-game slide, and the opening scoring would be Pleasant's Chase Houston a field goal, and it is 3-0 in terms of the score. Before that one would go in, a 21-yard field goal from Alan Carver would tie it up, and now the Tigers take the lead, a 2-yard rushing touchdown by Braxton Stuckman, the extra point good to make it 10-3. Off the kickoff of the second half, Pleasant's Christian Burns will retrieve the kick, and he's going to take it 75 yards all the way back to the end zone. That's how you start off a half in style. We're all even at 10 apiece, but Galleon would answer the call on their very next drive with Jacob Chambers. He would take this one 65 yards and head straight into the end zone. Extra point good again, 17-10, Galleon on top. 17 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Braxton Prosser takes it to the edge, and he would get into the zone from 10 yards out, extending the lead to 24-10 heading into the 4th quarter. And the final score of the game by Aiden Schmidt, rushing a short touchdown into the end zone to make it 31-10, giving Galleon their first win in the last 4 weeks. And Prosser, that you saw in that highlight that rushed in for a touchdown, Sean, he was one of the guys at the beginning of the year that we were talking about, along with Bob Penn and Braden DeVito. Maybe he's in the mix for MOAC Player of the Game. Benched going into the game, a senior quarterback, and it kind of gave him a little bit of a spark. How difficult of a decision is that? A 3-year starter for this program, and to try to get some life into them after this losing streak, they sit him down, and they look pretty good.
Coach Dick has done a great job over there. And they weren't supposed to be that good. They lost a whole bunch of kids from last year, and I think they started off 3-0 or something like that.
4-0.
And they had 4, and then they had a little rough streak. I think that's a great move, you know, especially this time of the year, that you're going to prove that nobody's bigger than the program, and nobody's bigger than the school. And you make a move like that, and what a shot in the arm it was to this team. They get off the schneid, and they get a win, and that'll only propel them into tomorrow morning weight room and to film and into next week and to finish off the season with a couple wins.
Yeah, we salute Coach Dick and the Tigers for hanging in there and getting the good juju back going again. But my top play nominee from this game, though, I got to go on the other side of things. How about starting off the second half with a kick return to the crib, Sean? Anytime you get a defensive or a special team score, it's a little bit different.
Well, we had a chance to watch this Pleasant team against Clear Fork a couple weeks ago, and they're an impressive little bunch, and they don't quit. They got a whole lot of fight in them, and to be able to score like this usually takes the wind out of your sails. But with those athletes and those coaches at Galleon, they were able to regroup and be able to come back out and get a win.
So the Tigers get back into the winning column. They're first in the MOAC since their opening night victory within the conference. We'll show you the conference standings now in the MOAC, which of course the 2 top dogs still sitting up there, 2 state-ranked teams in the top 5. Ontario, who according to Joe Idle has clinched already a home playoff game for Week 11. They'll be right behind them in the playoff point standings as well. So the winner next week, of course, Sean, we talked about this during our broadcast tonight, probably leapfrogs Perkins into the driver's seat for the #1 seed in Division 4, Region 14. It doesn't get much bigger than that Week 9 showdown.
No, and I'm sure that each school wants to be at home, and you know, I don't know who was down at the lower. I think we looked, and Clear Fork still had a chance to be in there. I don't know how many schools from the MOAC would be into the playoffs, but I think it'd be quite a significant number. And you know, next week just carries a whole lot of weight, and I think for each school, your #1 goal each year is we want to win the league. And, you know, a couple years ago, I think Ontario went over there and got Shelby, and Shelby won it last year. But I think, you know, this is for all the marbles, and this is what you work for in January, February, March, and all through the season to have games like this, especially at home at that beautiful complex in Shelby.
Yeah, no question about that. And you're right. I think when you look from top to bottom, maybe only Harding doesn't necessarily have a chance to still play their way into the postseason unless they were to get a couple of wins in the last 2 weeks. But Clear Fork, we're sitting at 16th entering the night. Obviously, they're going to have to win out if they want a chance to get into the postseason. Well, Sean Adams, absolute pleasure calling tonight's football game with you and a few games with me so far this year. And I think definitely crushing it tonight in your Pigskin debut. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope I look skinny enough.
Yeah, the slimming camera lens is on there, baby.
Thanks again for everything.
It worked. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we've got your top play and your Phenom winner from Clearback in week number 7. Plus, we've got highlights coming from the KMAC. We'll break down those standings. Cary and Colonel Crawford went head-to-head. We've got those highlights. Plus Big Walnut at Westerville North, North Central at Lucas, and Northwestern at Hillsdale, all on the way in our next set of highlights. We'll see you then.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle is a Crown Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram today, the better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, it just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards. Take back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. If you car dance to the song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
Week 7 was an incredibly tough job for me to try to narrow down the 10 best plays of the week that were captured by our cameras, but I somehow successfully did it. I put them on a platter for you guys all to decide what was supreme, and this is who you chose for your top play from week number 7. It's the play that I would have voted for because this is totally off script, not designed. Bodpen Miller back to punt on the road, and he bumbles, he stumbles, he jukes out a dude, and he coasts 83 yards for the touchdown. We'll spin it back one more time because, I mean, come on. He just sees everybody take off, so he's like, okay, I can probably pick up the first down. He does right there, and then somehow the Ohio State commit keeps his feet, cruises by a defender, and he would be off to the races. Congratulations, Bodpen, for earning top play from week 7. But the best individual overall performance, our Friday night phenom, how about Brock Bauer? And I agree, it was an all-around effort from this Hillsdale Falcon, flying through the air right there for an interception, and he would take it back to the crib. Defense cashing in for a check at the offensive end right there. He had another interception in this game as well. Plus, got into the zone here on the ground. What a return to action for this Falcon, energizing them in a huge win against Wayndell. This is your Friday night phenom winner from week number 7, getting it done on both sides of the football. Brock Bauer, congratulations. You are the winner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skoronsky. Now it's time for the K-Mac Corner with me, Travis Berardi, joined by Mr. Josh Banks. But we had one quite of a game down at the Castle tonight. Mount Gilead, a team we saw after week 1, we thought, hey, this is a very strong offensive and defensive line team. They have a running back, they have a lead blocker, they can do some things. Haven't played up to their abilities until tonight because they gave the Golden Knights, the top team in the K-Mac, the number 6 team in Division 6, all it could handle. Could they pull off the upset? Let's go to the highlights and find out. Homecoming at the Castle. Congrats, Bo Landon, Breeze Abrams, the king and queen. Golden Knights take the opening kickoff drive down to For the Brand territory. 21-yard A.J. Bauer field goal good, 3-0. Ensuing possession, 9.5 minutes later, Indians facing 4th and goal, and their run is stuffed. Golden Knights take over but go 3 and out, and that would lead to Mount Gilead cashing in. Cam Vickers gives the Indians the lead midway through the second. They then sack Bauer to face 3rd and long, and they're going to wrap him up. No, wait, Bauer escapes looking like Ben Roethlisberger, heaves the ball down the field, and finds the homecoming king himself to keep the drive alive. And 3 plays later, they would get the lead back. Cohen Becker against a linebacker equals 6, 10-7 Golden Knights. After a quick 3 and out, Northmore's going to do it again. Bauer, right before he's hit, releases to Becker, open again 12 yards, 16-7 Northmore at the break. Mount Gilead then took the opening kickoff in the second half and ran 13 minutes off the clock, resulting in Vickers' second score of the game. It's 16-14. After both teams change of possession, Mount Gilead has a chance for the win and a playoff berth, but Becker says, "You will not deny my homecoming dance." It's picked. Northmore runs out the clock. They survive 16-14. What an all-around game. I welcome in Josh Banks. Josh, your thoughts on that performance by the Golden Knights and by the Indians as well?
It was great to see the Indians compete to what we know they're capable of, what we've all thought they would do from week 1. But to see the Golden Knights win a close game, most of their games that we've been to this year have been a running clock. A.J. Bauer hasn't played 4 quarters, I don't think a single game yet this year.
Twice, Fredericktown and Centerburg, but other than that, he has none.
And they were able to pull it out tonight on homecoming, and it was just a phenomenal performance.
Yes, we have phenomenal performances, but we also have a top play, and we showed it in the highlight. A.J. Bauer, the play he had here, he has -8 yards. He does not run the ball. He's a pocket passer, but somehow this changed the game because if they get the sack there, Northmore's punting down 7-3. Mount Gilead, the way they were running, they could have made that a 2-possession game, but somehow, some way, A.J. Bauer, I mean, look at it. stiff arm one, jukes, goes back the other way, and then still on the run, turns and throws. If this isn't top play come next Friday, I don't know what's wrong with you people. Like, that was a phenomenal effort, and just Northmore needed a game like that to get ready. They get Loudonville, they get Cardington to finish off the year. If they beat Cardington at home next week, you'll see it live and free on the OH Report. If they get that win there, they will have clinched at least a share of their first conference championship since 1982. Do you know how old I was? I was -6 years old.
I was -7.
Yeah, so that's how long it has been. I think Ken Parrott, my color commentator, was still in high school. That's how long ago that was. But the Golden Knights looking good. And another team coming into this week, the Centerburg Trojans. They were sitting pretty as the number 2 team in the conference, tied with the Danville Blue Devils. They go to Tough Street Stadium as I welcome in Jonathan Langdon, who was on the call of that one. Jonathan, a couple surprises in the KMAC. I had Mount Gilead's huge effort tonight, and then you had a very Danville-like football game.
For Centerburg, 5-2 for Danville, both 3-1 in the conference. Let's roll those clips because not a lot of scoring in this one, but still a lot happened. Starting off with Blaine Ball. He throws, rolls to the right, throws, just overthrown there, interception. Oh, man. So the first interception of the game, of the quarter, because we're going to have another one here. 3 and out from Danville. They give the ball back to Centerburg. Look at this deflection.
It's the immaculate
Falls all the
reception.
way up to Josh Byers, one of the best defenders in the KMAC. He finally gets his first interception of the season. And then the very next drive, you're going to see a run up the middle. Aiden Burke touched maybe twice there before he runs into the end zone. Burke, a stud running back, showed it tonight. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Ensuing kickoff, Ballinger can't collect it, and Danville comes down on it. Big play from them. They're not going to be able to cash in with the score, but that's just to tell you how this game goes, because Centerburg, a lot of mistakes in that one, and that was just one of them. But you got to show a couple mistakes as well from Danville, and what could have been a top play turned into a disaster there. The fumble gives Centerburg the ball back. They're not able to convert. We jump all the way to the third quarter. It's still 6-0. Rolling to the left, Hackman doesn't see anything, and Jacob's just going to run this the complete other way and score a touchdown to make it 12-0. And then this was the last effort here from Centerburg, with just 2.5 minutes left. They had to make up 2 scores. Caleb Lucas, he wasn't having any of that. He gets the sack there, and you're going to see him as well. That's not the last big play he makes. He is actually going to get in here on 3rd down and, let's just say, very long, and he swats that down. And that pretty much squashes any chance that Centerburg has to even get back into it, let alone even score. First time since 2018, Centerburg has been shut out in a KMAC competition. Big win for Danville. And like you said, Travis, the most Danville-like fashion.
Yeah, and that win has officially clinched a playoff spot for the Blue Devils, who jumped all the way up to number 2 in their region. We've talked about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but this region could still be Danville's for the taking, because some teams weren't JFK, a couple other teams that were in the region last year, Dalton, no longer there. This could be Danville's to win.
Yeah, very well. Danville really impressed me today defensively. I was going into this game thinking Centerburg was going to ramp them up a little bit, force them to score a little bit more, but no, Danville flipped the script actually and shut down this Centerburg team. And I think it came down to those first 2 drives, because if Blaine Ball doesn't throw those 2 interceptions, this game goes a completely different way. Centerburg probably scores on that first drive, and we kind of get what I was expecting. But Danville, able to get those 2 stops, changes the game completely, and you just felt it throughout the entire night that this game was going to go Danville's way, and just that they were going to be able to defensively stop this Centerburg team, and also use their run game to get their own offense going.
And then on the other side of things, Centerburg, we've seen them put up big numbers. You saw them almost knock off Northmore earlier this season, handled all their other competition, except for, their non-conference. They played the likes of Ontario and Northridge, but Centerburg dropping all the way down to 13th in Joe Idle's rankings and don't control their own destiny right now. But if they win out, I think they'll make it. For Centerburg, what do you just see them? I mean, a couple mistakes here or there, it could be completely different, like you said, but How does Centerburg bounce back in the last 2 weeks of the season?
Well, first of all, I think that region is really, really tough. So Centerburg really controlling their own destiny at this point is kind of shocking with how well this team has played this season. I think they just got to stay the course. This is a setback for you. Got to reevaluate some things offensively. But if you don't change too much and just go into next week, get back into your identity and start scoring a little bit more. Throwing the ball, they had 300 and something yards passing last week. So this week, it's a bump in the road, but I don't think it's going to be any sort of roadblock they can't get past.
Northmore barely survives as we take a look at the KMAC standings. We were thinking this is Centerburg's second spot to take, but the loss, now it's Fredericktown and Danville, two teams that will face off against each other, I believe. Well, next week, that's your second place game right now. Danville's still able to do it, and you never know. The way Northmore played tonight, I don't know if Cardington or Loudonville can put up the fight that Mount Gilead did, but second place is still up for grabs, Jonathan.
Yeah, and I'm going to be there next week. Danville taking on Fredericktown back at Tough Street Stadium. So I think Danville knew coming into today that, yeah, this is going to be a second place game, but we're going to have a second one the very next week. So back-to-back big games. Luckily for them, they're going to be both at home. And then, of course, their final game, Week 10, is against East Knox. So if they knock down Fredericktown, then you're competing against East Knox for potentially second place. So the road gets tougher for Danville to secure that 2 spot. Danville pretty well secure in like the region rankings, but still want to take down these tough conference opponents, and 2 tough ones on the way. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Fredericktown, a big win over East Knox tonight. I think it was 41-0, but that puts Fredericktown now. They control their own destiny. However, East Knox as well in D5 Region 18, not out of it. They still have some winnable games that can give them some bonus points, but Fredericktown's big win this week, and then if they can come up to Tough Street Stadium in the game that you are going to call next week and get a win there, they'll be looking pretty in D5 Region 18. Jonathan, appreciate you, sir. Hope that you enjoy the Guardians game tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and they get on to the next week in the playoffs in the ALCS, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, for sure. One more thing I wanted to say.
Sure.
Shout out to Mount Gilead, by the way. Just a phenomenal game from them. I was talking to a couple of coaches. Danville and Centerburg were both kind of talking with me at halftime, because I was like reading off the score updates, and they were kind of intrigued, obviously, that Northmore was struggling against Mount Gilead, but they weren't surprised at all. There's a mutual respect, I think, in the conference for what Mount Gilead can do, even though the record hasn't shown that.
Yeah, a 9.5-minute drive and a 13-minute drive. That's why they kept Northmore's power off the field, and that was offense. Jonathan Langdon, thank you very much, sir. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, I sent it back to you, Brian, but the KMAC, it's wacky, it's crazy, you never know what could happen, but the Golden Knights, have you ever seen a 13-minute drive like that? Lucas does it close, but I don't even think Lucas runs 13 minutes off the clock to get a touchdown.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills watching some of that. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't add up a full quarter plus.
Yeah.
Where nobody touches the ball except for you on that one drive.
And they didn't even score in the 12 minutes of the third quarter. They scored a minute into the fourth.
That really is wild.
I know.
All right, so let's change up things from the KMAC, and let's now move on to the Northern 10, where I think probably the biggest surprise of the night took place up in Sycamore, a team that was sitting all alone atop the N10 standings. Homecoming night, Upper Sandusky coming to their place, and Mohawk loses tonight by a score. So that opens the door wide for the 2 teams that have combined for the last 4 Northern 10 Conference championships, that being Cary and Colonel Crawford, who met each other tonight over in North Robinson. We had Shane Young on location to take in what is always a hard-fought game, and this one, no exception. It followed the script that we've seen year after year. These 2 teams, they always go head-to-head, tough defense, in a game that boils down to the last couple possessions.
Yeah, Brian, the last couple of seasons it's been either Crawford or Cary, even though it's been Cary the last couple seasons. Definitely this game was a toss-up between who's going to win this. Mr. Thompson, if you go ahead and get the couple clips I got rolling. So Connor McMichael, he's going to score first in the second quarter. That's when we get things started. It is 7-0. Carey is going to answer right back, and they're going to get a touchdown on their own with Puckett. Next, we have a blocked punt. Boom. That is going to lead into a field goal for Carey. It ends up being 10-7. Now, it is just field goals for the rest of this game. This is late in the fourth quarter, and again, Puckett scores again. He gets 2 touchdowns. Mohawk losing, I was really surprised about that, and that is what Carey was talking about in their huddle at the end of the game. They're like, Upper just beat Mohawk. We have a legitimate shot. That leaves, 4 teams, Seneca, Carey, Crawford, and Mohawk to win the N10 now. And if all goes right for Carey, Mohawk, if they got to play Mohawk next week, they beat Mohawk. If Seneca can lose a game or two, Carey can end up winning the conference again.
Yeah, they start the season 1-4. 3 tough losses, though, out of those 4. So no surprise, right? The fact that they bounced back once they've got into the conference portion of the season and they're starting to look like Carey baby all over again.
Yeah, don't count out Carey. Don't do it, because they will definitely show you what they're made of. They did it tonight, and a little bit of a shocker against Crawford.
Connor McMichael and Eli Steen, 2 beasts of the backfield. We nicknamed one the McMonster because, well, I stole that from Zach Truax, but it just makes sense. And then Steen, too, he's like a steam engine train normally when he rumbles out of the backfield. Nowhere to be seen in these highlights. How did each opposing defense step up to the challenge and kind of eliminate what each of these squads offensively like to lean on night in, night out?
Yeah, I was really surprised not seeing McMichael or Steen almost at all this game. Crawford just did a very good job at stopping Steen's run game. Obviously, he had a couple big plays, 10 plus yards, but he couldn't get in the end zone. It was all Mace Puckett tonight. As for McMichael, they got the 1 touchdown. They made some adjustments, and McMichael, after his first touchdown, he was barely seen at all. Actually, before that, the punt block, he dropped a open pass in the middle of the field that made them have to punt that. So McMichael really wasn't seen at all this game. And, if you stop McMichael, then you're probably going to stop all of Crawford, because he is the guy on that offense, seems like.
And usually it begins in the trenches with those big boys up front kind of moving things and making it happen. And I couldn't help but notice that there's a really handsome guy in a uniform about over your left shoulder if you just kind of dip back and take a look and see who's plastered on your wall back there.
Right here?
What can you tell the folks about that big number 76 and what he used to bring to the table out in Winford country, who did get a win in that, kettlebell rivalry tonight?
Well, and that's awesome to see. 27 years. Shout out to my boys from Winford. I'm so proud of them. 27 years we have held that copper kettle. But I look at that banner almost every single day. It just sometimes it brings a tear or two back. Being on the field with all the boys and all the seniors that when I started they were freshmen. And when I was a senior, all the freshmen are juniors now. So it's good to see them still bringing home the kettle.
I almost feel like a proud father just hearing about these stories. So thank you for sharing that with me, Shane. And we talked a little bit about Mohawk's loss and now Carey's win over Colonel Crawford, how it shakes things up here in the Northern 10. Let's take a look at the standings and see what we're really in store for. How about a 3-way tie up at the top? And oh, by the way, Mohawk still got to play Carey next week. They host them. Then they travel on the road to Attica in week number 10 against Seneca East, who is at Bucyrus next week. I think we call that a slam dunk. 0-8 right now for them. And then Colonel Crawford still very much in the mix. They'll be at home against Upper Sandusky. They close out on the road against Winford, which is close to a slam dunk, but really just a layup, a contested layup. I'll at least give you that, Shane. So there's a lot that can happen here over these next couple weeks.
Yeah, Crawford, they definitely, 2 very winnable games these next 2 weeks, Upper and Winford. Now, like I said, for Carey, if all goes right for them, they'll end up taking the conference again. But, I mean, if Mohawk can come out next week and beat them, more than likely Mohawk will end up winning the conference if they beat Carey next week. But it's definitely going to decide who's going to win the N10 this year.
It's going to be definitely a very fun finish to keep an eye on. You could see that thing maybe being chopped, but I don't know. I talked about the crazy pills that I felt like I just took watching a 13-minute drive. Maybe somebody will emerge from the ashes like the Phoenix there and just take it all for himself, eat the entire pie like I do sometimes when the treats get brought to my house. I can't help myself, Shane. Sometimes I get that fork in my hand and I can't slow down. So we'll see if that's the case for one of those teams. Thanks for calling in, brother, and take a look back at that poster one more time and just remember the good old days.
I can't. I already do it too much. I already do it too much. I don't want to.
Shane Young calling from the house, man. Do appreciate that. All right. I have been sent a highlight, a game that's actually streaming right now, live and free, that as soon as you're done with the Pigskin here, you might want to flip over because I just see the final score and what it took to get to that point in double overtime, I do believe. Big Walnut, who had been on an absolute tear, the #1 team in Division II, Region 7, looking for a 7th consecutive victory, but they had to go on the road on homecoming night against a Division I opponent, a rival in Westerville North. I got the moving pictures. Let's flow through this thing and show you how it all went down. This is the first quarter, and this is Westerville North's Jonathan Stevens. He picks off Eli Stumpf, and he gets it back and swirls out here. Is anybody going to tackle him? I don't know. I haven't seen this yet. Yeah, he goes down at the 40. They would cap it off with, guess who? Jonathan Stevens. 1-yard touchdown run. It's 7-0 at the midway point of quarter number 1. Fast forward now, second quarter, Trey McDonald is going to strip Owen Pollock, and it's another turnover. B-Dub just can't seem to get it together. It would lead to a field goal, and it's now 10-0 in favor of the Warriors. Scratch that. How about a field goal made at the other end, and the Eagles trim it back down to 7. Now here's Nolan Burley. 28 yards, he bursts through some arm tackles. We're all square, and this is late in the third quarter. Take you to the beginning of the fourth now. It's Burley again, this time from 10 yards out. Same result. B-Dub leads for the first time, 17-10. This is Ronald Jackson now on the other side. And the Warriors, with this 13-yard touchdown rush, have tied things up and not shown Stump to Hatfield, a 13-yard touchdown. Answered right here with a 2-yard touchdown rush from Stevens, his second of the night. It's 24 apiece, and we go to overtime where you see Jackson, a 3-yard run right there to put Westerville North out in front. Big Walnut would line up for the PAT. The defensive line is going to be offsides here. So guess what? They're going to go for 2. And Nolan Burley on the 2-point conversion just barely whirls his way in there, 32-31. And that is how the Eagles storm off a walk-off on the road on homecoming night. And they continue their winning streak, 7 in a row now. Of course, they're still #1 right now in their region. Wow, what an emotional win for them. A big-time rivalry win. And starting out slow, the fumble, the 3-and-out, then another fumble. They started getting something going. Ron Jackson surpassed the 2,000 all-purpose yards mark tonight. So that was big time. And more importantly, outside of the playoffs, in the OCC right now, Big Walnut, #1 all by themselves. With a loss in this game, they would have been tied with Westerville North and one other team in the league. Instead, they are sitting pretty all alone in the throne, looking down on everybody else with just 2 games to go. All right, we're going to send it back over now to Travis, who's hanging out with Joshua Banks, who is playing in a treehouse tonight, which is one of my favorite things to do on a Friday night. And I know that you had a lot of fun watching Lucas be Lucas, plus a couple of extra twists.
Yeah, Lucas be Lucas, but just as many passing touchdowns as rushing tonight. Not something we're really
It's just shock right
seeing
there
from
for
the
you.
Cubs. Let's go ahead and roll the clips and take a look at it. And that's what we're going to start with. Their first touchdown of the game is a 51-yard pass.
No, it's not.
From Grover
No, it's not.
to Tim Daly.
What
and how
is
about
this?
the snag by Daly on
Wow.
top? The young man just came back last week, and he's already back to 100%.
That's passing touchdown. Wow.
But Lucas, going back to Lucas football, Dan
There it is.
Hawkins-Smith, ground and pound, and then he just pops out of the
I'm
middle.
gonna push the pile all the way. It's like a rugby scrum every day, Lucas.
But how about touchdown number 3 is another passing touchdown? It's going to be Grover to Hawkinsmith from 11 yards out.
11's a better number. That's Lucas football. 50, I'm just in shock. That's how many passing touchdowns they've had in the last 5 years combined.
Well, now you're going to see Daly get involved on the ground. 15 yards out, he gets a corner, and that's what they've been missing all year is that go-to back. With him back, they're Lucas football again. Now you're going to see Mason Giegold. He was Daly's replacement for most of the year. He's going to go in from 11 yards out. That's going to put him up big. But how about this to start the second half? You're up 36-0. Why not throw it from 60? A quick little screen to Daly. He gets a corner.
Oh, what a block, too.
And he's going to take it to the house. 43.
Look at the camera guy, too, following down the line, too.
Yeah. That's the first time I've
speed.
seen this guy, Lucas. He was there. He was in everything, huddles, everything. And now you're going to see Will Weitzel, the senior, get into the end zone from 5 yards out, and that's going to cap it off. The Cubs played Lucas football again.
No, they didn't.
They beat North Central 50-0.
This is the Lucas playbook. Throw it out. Throw it out because they throw the ball now, too. I shocked. 50-some. I don't know. Brian, if you look it up, when's the last time they've thrown a passing touchdown over 50 yards? We'll let you think about that before we come back to you, but that's crazy.
Their first touchdown, it was really interesting because they started like Lucas. Wing T, typical Lucas formation. Dan Hawkinsmith ran it for about 22 yards on the first play. Then they come out spread and throw a 51-yard bomb. I was on the call with Andy Jardy, and it threw us both for a loop. We had no clue what was happening. It was the most entertaining play I think we've seen all year from the Lucas Cubs. It was a blast.
Out of all that, who would you pick to be the best player of the night?
It's got to be the quarterback, Bobby Grover, as our phenomenon. 4 of 5 for 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, and he also plays safety on defense, and he had himself an interception tonight as well.
I'll just add that, too.
I mean, the kid, he comes up, MVP interview, he says, yeah, we really kind of worked on new formations this week to mix it up. Well, I tell you what, kid, you threw for 133 yards on 4 completions, and I will mention his one incompletion, which I don't have in this highlight, would have probably been another 50-plus yard touchdown that was dropped. So he could have been 5 of 5 for 4 touchdowns very easily tonight.
Nearly 35 yards per completion there for you. That's math, folks, and that's pretty darn good. Bobby Grover, look for him as a phenomenon when we get to the podcast on Monday. But, sir, you are not done because you have a top play nominee, too.
And how about that first play from the Cubs?
I got to see this again.
Daly. And if you watch, he gets tackled in the ankles as he releases it. But the catch by Daly, adjust in the air, goes up, gets it on the dude's head.
So shocking, even the cornerbacks, like, what just happened to me? They don't do this.
We didn't prepare for this week, but they just did it to us. Again, the Cubs play Cubs football. They hold North Central to 37 yards of offense and 3 first downs, and none of those yards came until the second half.
Do have a question. Did Lucas run a series that took 13 minutes?
They ran no series that I would say took more than 5 minutes, which was not the Lucas football I'm used to.
But it works.
But they put up half of 100 tonight.
Hey, maybe this is the new Lucas football. Maybe it's them, trying some new things and being more successful. They're still in the playoff hunt right now. Last I checked, they are 15th in their region.
So they moved up a spot with the win.
So you're saying there's still a chance there is, and St. Paul plays Crestview tomorrow. And they'd be playing Hillsdale. Yeah, Brian just said they would be playing Hillsdale, who clinched a home spot. And let's get right into that and take you to the highlights of Hillsdale hosting Northwestern. Could clinch a home playoff spot with a win. Let's roll this footage. First off, a man that you all know, Owen Sloan, trying to get back into the top 10 rushing in the area. He scores from 11 yards out. Just underway here. They go for 2. Jake Haven says, I'm just going to take it in there. 8-0. Sloan, 3:14 left in the quarter. He takes it in again. Second score of the night from 3 yards out, 15-0. But, he isn't done yet in the first half. This time, 9 yards out, 22-zip. Haven got the 2-point conversion earlier. He's like, hey, can you give me the ball too? Give me some love. Yeah, they're going to give him some love. 1 yard out with 3 minutes left in the half. 29-0. Falcons are rolling in this one. Second half, all they needed was 1 score to get the clock rolling, and, well, that's exactly what they did. Hayden McFadden up from 27 yards out. That was a heck of a catch, falling down to his tush. It's 36-0. But Northwestern, they are going to get on the board. Mason Myers, 85 yards to the house. Do not get the two-point conversion, though. Clock continued to run. They win 36-6 as I welcome in Zach Truex, who gave you the soothing tones of his play-by-play tonight. Truex, I know you've seen Hillsdale earlier this season, but they continue to impress, don't they?
Yeah, I was a little tough on the Falcons early in the game. I said it looked flat. And I came home and watched it, and my new reaction is they look like, I hate to bring up wrestling, but they look like a wrestler who's a number 1 seed, and they walk out in the mat that first match of the tournament, and they got some unseeded kid, and they're just taking care of business. And that's what they look like tonight. They didn't let themselves get too high, didn't let themselves get too low. They pulled, Owen Slow got pulled in the second half to rest up. They've got a Week 10 match that is their finals match, let's call, against Norway. I think they're pretty much focused on that Week 10 matchup with Norway. They had this game in hand. So my apologies to Hillsdale. I said they were flat earlier, but it's hard to be critical of a team that wins by 30 points.
And they do it in so many different ways. You mentioned Norway. They squeaked by Dalton 17-14. So for Hillsdale fans, the way they were able to stick with and beat Dalton, I heard Dalton had a lot of penalties in that game against Norway too. So it kind of looks a little bit better for this matchup that it could be evenly matched. But, we talk about Hillsdale having that passing attack with Cale Lewis, the sophomore. But tonight, like you said, Owen Sloan, if they can ride him into the end zone to get a big lead, they're going to do that as well.
Yeah, pick your poison against Hillsdale. They've got, like I've called it, the three-headed monster with their 3 wide receivers. Jake Haven is my MVP tonight because of the way he blocked and the way he played on both sides of the ball. He played really hard all night long when some of the guys on the team weren't playing as hard late in the game. He kept playing hard. But pick your poison against Hillsdale. If you drop a bunch of guys back into coverage to slow down the passing attack, they're going to hand it to Sloan, and he can run between the tackles. And if he gets a corner, he's going for chunk yardage. If you crowd the line of scrimmage, just slow down that passing attack, they're going to go over your head. And Cale Lewis is as accurate as a passer as there is in the area. And I know that's sacrilege where I live because Nathan Bernhard, the Division I recruit out of Ashland for the undefeated Arrows, is the real deal. But, Cale Lewis can put the ball wherever he wants to put it. He got picked off once tonight in the end zone, threw a pass a little off balance, just trying to make a play, I think, for his team. But that's only 3 interceptions all year. And, that interception doesn't hurt him at all. They're up big. They're trying to force a running clock. It was 3rd and forever, I think, at that point. So it's not the worst interception in the world. So Cale Lewis can spin it, man. He can put the ball where he wants to put it, and he stays in the pocket. He doesn't run out of the pocket when option 1 and option 2 aren't open. He looks at option 3. He kind of slinks around. I hate to say, I hate to compare a high school kid to Tom Brady, but it kind of reminds you of that. He just kind of slides around that pocket and feels the open spot and then finds someone open. He almost had a big one to Haven in the first half, where he rolled to his right, no one was open, and Haven had taken a fake handoff and kind of leaked out along the left side, and Lewis found him, and he was the 4th option and just overthrew him a little bit. But that's what you get with Cale Lewis. You get a kid who's always looking downfield and keeping his eyes downfield to make plays and be a facilitator.
Yeah, and last week talking about. Or a couple weeks ago, we talked about Loudonville and Mount Gilead and the big uglies from Mount Gilead. Let's talk about the offensive and defensive line for Hillsdale because you said Cale Lewis has time. You're the wrestling guy. You like the big uglies. How important and how impressive has this line for Hillsdale been to open up things for this young quarterback?
Yeah, very impressive. They've got great size. They had a guy out tonight. Alice was out tonight, unavailable, but I think it's a testament to their coaching down there and how well they coach. They have size, but they block with good technique, and they've got guys that will block the whistle. And if they get a chance to start blocking downhill and running downhill and lean on you, man, it is going to be a long night for your linebackers, because they've got guys that will block at the point of attack and then slide up to the linebacker, and that's what gives Owen Sloan a chance to bounce those long runs, because you see a block at the point of attack, and then all of a sudden the linebackers are blocked. And oh, by the way, Jake Haven, he just pancaked your defensive end. That guy's on his back. And so if the linebackers aren't there to make a play, Owen Sloan's gone. And Hillsdale does it between the trenches. They run out of shotgun formation, but they also have that H-back, which kind of is a new fullback, and Haven's that H-back. And so they run 3 wide receivers with Haven. They'll put Sloan in a sidecar. So it's a very balanced attack, and I love balanced offenses. Not to take anything away from Mount Gilead. The reason Mount Gilead can hang with Northmore tonight is because they shortened the game. They ate up clock with that running attack. But when they had to win the game, they had to throw the ball, and Northmore picked it off. And I think if you want to go far, especially past the regional championship game, you have to have great balance. And Hillsdale has great balance, and then a really advantageous, let's call it, region this year. So I think they can make a deep playoff run.
And let's talk about Northwestern real quick. We have a top play, and it will be that kickoff return touchdown by Mason Myers. The bright spot, right, for Northwestern?
The bright spot. So the backstory on this, boom, that is how you hit a kickoff return. North and south, vertical. So many times I see high school kids try to pick their spot, on a kickoff return. Just eyeball a crease and hit it like a cannonball, man. And Mason Myers does it here. And the funny, not funny for Northwestern coaches, but a humorous, let's call it, backstory on this is, before this, I think it was 4 or 5 kickoffs that Northwestern fumbled or didn't even catch. There was a kickoff where Hillsdale kicked it off and no one from Northwestern went after the ball. And luckily for Northwestern, it rolled out of bounds and they got it at the 35. But before that, they had fumbled every kickoff. So that was the first kickoff they fielded cleanly. Maybe it took Hillsdale by surprise. I don't know. But that was the case a little bit too. I mentioned in the broadcast, like I said, I was maybe a little too critical of Hillsdale, but they looked a little flat on that kickoff coverage. And that's something I'm sure Coach Klein will be looking to clean up, because Rittman isn't bad next week. They're either 5-3 or 4-4 at this point. I haven't seen the outcome of their game. So Rittman isn't bad. And then you've got that one at the end of the year, Norway, and I keep talking about it, but it's going to be a regular Donnybrook
absolutely
at Hillsdale.
All right, Zach Truex, as always, appreciate you, sir, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey, one thing I want to say real quick before I go. Am I still on?
Yeah.
My man Shane, I can tell he's a bachelor because he's got his old posters behind him. See, I'm married, so I got something right here behind me. It's got white leaves and sticks. I've got something that looks like, I don't know, it's wrought iron on the wall. See, guys, all you young guys watching this at home, when you're young, you get to hang up your old posters, like all my old wrestling posters and stuff. That's in an attic somewhere, man. And Shane gets to enjoy all his posters on the wall, look at them every day. If I want to see my stuff, I got to climb up the attic or go to the basement. Otherwise, I'm looking at my wife's decor.
Don't let him throw you off, folks. He's just in the lobby of a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. That's all. Zach Truex, thank you very much, sir. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Let's take a look now at the WCAL standings real quick. And I think, Mr. Skoronsky, as we bring you back in, you called this. You want this Norwayne-Hillsdale game for week number 10. It's looking like you're going to get it. But Norwayne, tough test, needed a 3-point victory against Doughton tonight. And for Hillsdale fans, that makes them think, okay, we stuck with Doughton. We got the win. Norwayne couldn't really run away from them. It's making things more interesting, sir.
I'm a selfish man when it comes to the matchups that I want to see
that's
live
fine.
and free.
I
baby.
get devil dog because of that, so thank you.
I had a mini rooting interest tonight in those Bobcats getting it done that way. Potentially, we could see 6-0 versus 6-0, and then all the chips on the table. Both teams going all in, and I can't wait for that one. Even though another week coming up here, but
still got to play Week 9.
A huge one next week in the MOAC, and then we get that big one potentially in Week 10 here. So that's what it all boils down to now. That game determined it today. That lets you know that no matter what in that Week 10 matchup, Norway's going to have a shot at least getting a piece. It might be all the way outright, and then Hillsdale, same thing. So the storyline, it has been written, the chapter, the final one, it's going to be told by one of those two teams.
You know, one of these two teams, after Week 10, they will be partying. And speaking of partying, Brian, what do we got coming up next?
Well, I saved just a little bit of energy in the old gas tank. That's right. We're going to start popping some bottles up here at the OH Report. But we got to go get them in the back. So we're going to take a quick commercial timeout. When we come back, that man right over there, we're going to be partying and dancing together. See you then.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle is a Crown Crusher Jeep Dodge Ram today, the better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, it just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards. Take back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. If you car dance to this song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
That's right, baby. I'm pumped. It's go time. Let's get right into it. Andy Jardy joins us right now for a Jardy Party. Woo! That's right. It'll make your head spin. What is going down, my guy?
I'm all for it.
Me too. It sounds like what was down was your audio at first, but I can hear you now, Mr. Jardy.
You got me? You got me? Everyone can hear me? We're all good now?
We're good.
Beautiful.
We hear
Love
you.
it.
We see you. And I already know where this is going to start, okay, with your notable things, but a state-ranked team, right? Taking on Marion Local. No way do they come up with a blowout. I'm not buying it this week. Did they get a game from Anna?
It was only a 6-possession game, so I guess that's close for Marion Local. The winning streak has reached 56. They beat ninth ranked in D6 Anna. They beat them
Yeah.
42-0 tonight. Like, these are not like cupcake teams. They won 42-0. They are now 1 win away from tying the OHSAA record of 57 straight wins, as they will take on number 4 ranked Minster next week. So that'll probably be 35
5-score game.
Yeah, it'll be something outrageous. But yeah, Marion Local just continues to steamroll the competition. I looked it up too. I think they've given up 22 points this season.
That's a lot.
Like,
they
have like
yeah, I've got
4
it in
or
front of
5
me.
shutouts.
They gave up 7 to New Bremen a few weeks ago, 9 to St. Henry, and then 6 in the opener against Linton Stockton out of Indiana. That's it all year long.
It's unbelievable.
Meanwhile,
It's
they've put up
unbelievable.
at least 42. This was their worst game of the season, offensive-wise.
It's insane. It's like, you have to mention it too, because like the numbers are just absurd when you really break them down. It's unreal.
Do you know
Speaking
who has
of
the
unreal,
longest win streak all time in the state? Who they're trying to go after?
so the abbreviation I saw on the tweet was DSJ. Is that like Delphos St. Joseph?
Delphos St.
John's or
John's.
Delphos
something?
St. John's would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, I think they have the record. Is who that is. So they would tie them.
Okay. What else did you see that really kind of blew your mind as if that wasn't enough?
I mean, the N10 tonight. Like, what on earth happened with Upper Sandusky winning at Mohawk?
Like,
and
up
I mean,
was down,
Carey
and down
going,
was up.
Carey going into Colonel Crawford and getting the win. Like, Road Sweet Road in the N10 tonight. I mean, what is going on? Homecomings galore were spoiled. Like, this was crazy. I don't think any of us saw Mohawk getting tripped up by Upper Sandusky. The Carey at Crawford one is surprising a little bit, I guess, but maybe not with the way that they've played recently. But yeah, the N10 just like is like a game of Yahtzee, and everything just got thrown on the table and scattered around. So I don't know how this is gonna play out down the final 2 weeks, but I'm very excited to see what happens.
Maybe I should have said over under 1.5 losses in the Northern 10 would give you the championships in the MOAC.
Well, hindsight's 20/20, right, Travis?
Except if you're me, because I can't see anything with these except for these glasses. But anyway,
so
continue,
sorry.
Mr. Jardy.
Well, yes, we did see Shelby get tested tonight. Maybe a look ahead to obviously the game next week with Ontario. But Josh and I at the Lucas game tonight, when they came across the PA and said that game was 7-7 in the third quarter, we were like, "Whoa, what is happening here?" But now we get the glorious undefeated matchup of Shelby, Ontario next week, and I have no idea how that game's going to go, but I think it's going to just be an absolute shootout. I'm very excited to see how that game goes. So, how are we feeling, guys? Either way here, do we have?
Let's all make some predictions.
I hope it's a shootout.
Yeah.
Shootout expected.
56-49, 56-49, Ontario.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got one for the Big O. Josh?
57-50 Ontario.
Man, that's a lot of points.
Yeah.
I'm going to go slightly lower, I think, Andy. I think my winner is probably going to be in the 40s. I think it'll be more like 42-38. Both these teams do have kickers.
Yeah.
Man, I like Shelby. I don't know if they have the defensive secondary that can hold up if Bod Penn is running it when he starts getting those one-on-ones. I think I'm going to take Ontario as well.
I was going to say, you have not picked Shelby in the last, 4 years. You might as well keep with it now.
Can't pick the Whippets. That's against tradition at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing but the hits from Brian over there. Yeah, I would say I think we're gonna have to get the brooms out here. I think we're all going Ontario, right?
Bulletin board material, Shelby High School. There you go.
You hear
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Nobody
Get in the
believes in
comments
you
section.
on the Pigskin.
I can't wait
Like
to
it
see my face on a dartboard with this.
All of us.
With this here.
Mine's
all
probably
of us
on
are
5
going-
in the KMAC already, so you know.
Yeah, everywhere but Northmore for you, Travis. And then how about this? Kind of back in my old stomping grounds around Toledo, Lima Senior beat Toledo Waite tonight, 79-0. They scored all 79 points in the first half.
Whoa!
It was 79-0 at halftime. I don't know how that's possible, but somehow Lima Senior found a way to do it. They're undefeated this year. Just unbelievable offensive performance there. I mean, that's 11. It's 11 possessions at least.
What are they doing in the second half, man? Getting foot rubs and tickle party? Like,
Tickle party.
I have no idea. And then all of our undefeated teams are still undefeated. Northmore, Shelby, Ontario, Hillsdale, Ashland, Monroeville. So kudos to all of them for getting this far into the season.
Andy
we'll lose
Jardy.
one of them next week.
Andy Jardy, have you ever seen a 13-minute drive?
You know, I was listening obviously to the show earlier before I came on, and I was trying to think. I feel like I've seen something like that before, but I don't remember if it was at the high school level or if it was in like a college game or something. But I can't immediately place one, but I feel like I have, and it's unreal. Like, yeah, I don't think Lucas had a drive that lasted more than 3 minutes tonight because they just scored on like every play. It was
so bizarre.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned those undefeated teams. Everybody but Ashland pretty much has clinched a home game in week 1 of the playoffs. Big Walnut, their win tonight. They're number 1 in the region. Ashland's just on the cusp, but you said those 6 undefeated teams, 5 of them have already clinched a week 11 spot at home. So we're going to be busy in the playoffs, which we want to be, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's pretty much it from what I saw.
Yep. You go.
No, I said that's pretty much everything I've seen.
Oh,
that was it for my recap
he's already
of
seen
Ohio.
it all. So sorry, I just got a little bit of brain freeze after 1 a.m. hit. All of a sudden, just like my body. Okay, so we see some of the crazy, notable things that happen from around the state, but who really impressed you individually?
Yeah. Let's go. Andy's Dandies, by the way. We had someone comment on our stream tonight about plenty of Andy's Dandies performances in the Lucas game tonight, and that just warmed my heart to see that. So thank you very much for that comment. I always start the game I was at, and I'm going with Tim Daly from Lucas. He was very much in the running to be our MVP tonight. He had 3 catches for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 7 times, 46 yards, and had a touchdown in their 50-0 win over North Central. Second dandy of the night. How about the Danville defense shutting out Centerburg for the first time since 2018? I mean, that is some dirty defense right there from Danville, getting the job done. Love to see it. And on the flip side, the offense out of Bogpen Miller. My word, 451 total yards, 4 touchdowns, and setting up that incredible matchup next week. Shelby's Braden DeVito pretty much matched his performance tonight. The two of them, it's just unreal what they've put up this season, and you know what we're potentially going to get next week is going to just be one of the greatest games maybe in the history of OHSAA football.
They
I don't know,
combined for over 900 yards tonight in 2 games.
Yeah, it's just absurd. It's like playing your buddy in Madden or NCAA football. Like, those numbers are just video game-esque. And then my final Andy's Dandy of the night. How about this? Vermilion's Zeke Dunn. Game-winning 25-yard field goal for Vermilion.
For the brand!
Beat Huron 13-10. It's the Sailors' first win versus the Tigers since 1966. How about that?
Wow.
Let's go. Love to see streaks broken. So congratulations to Vermilion, Zeke Dunn. I was reading an article of the game, and Zeke was a little nervous, obviously, going to make that kick. And I guess one of his friends came up to him and like made fun of him and made like a joke. And he's like, I'm good now. And he like sank it and they won. So always good to just, you know, ease the nerves like that by having a good laugh. I fully support this.
That's like having your grandparents, your dad, your uncles, your older brother, and all of their friends all get victories in that rivalry, and then all of a sudden, the streak just ends. That's 1966. I think my mom was 2. The California Dreamin', the number 1 song. Ain't that the Beach Boys?
No, it's
Mamas and the
not
Papas.
the Beach Boys.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think they've played every year, obviously, since then. I would hope not. I hope it hasn't been like a yearly matchup. I think it's been like 15 matchups or something. But still, the fact that like it's you know been decades is absurd. And that's it. That's all I got, dandy wise.
Some great dandies tonight, Andy, indeed. We've got two more conferences that I want to take a look at, including the Ohio Cardinal Conference, where there's just one team that yours truly picked to be on the top at the beginning of the season. They're making me look real smart right now in Arrow Country, 8-0, perfect so far, of course, in the OCC as well. And oh, by the way, Lexington, their Week 10 opponent, tripped up tonight by New Philly. So the Arrows, all of them point towards Ashland being the victor in this conference.
Nice pun. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I approve, pun. Well done, sir. This is it's Ashland's to lose. It's been theirs to lose all year. This has been a very strange year in the OCC, and they've taken advantage of it. So kudos to the Arrows. I think even in a good year of the OCC, this might still be the case with the way that their offense can just put up points.
What is the biggest shock to you when you look at all those teams on the screen, though, Andy? What sticks out?
I mean, Mansfield Senior is the one that immediately jumps out too, and I think I am surprised to see. I guess I'm surprised that Worcester is also 2-6 on the year. Like that's a program that, at least when I started covering high school sports down here, that I feel like was usually towards the top of that conference. So to see that, like, Worcester and Mansfield Senior, two of your bottom three is strange.
The 24 put up by the Tigers tonight is a season high, coming off of a 3-week stretch where they only put up 29 total points, and before that, 7 points over the 2 weeks. So this has been, just statistically, maybe the worst offensive season in Mansfield Senior history. They do, though. They get Glen Oak coming to their place. It's a D1 opponent, but they're winless so far. And then they travel to Madison in Week 10. Who you picking in that one, Andy? You got the Rams or you got the Tigers finishing on a high note?
Man, it's tough to pick against the Tigers in that matchup. I know that's the city rivalry and whatnot, but the way that this year has unfolded, I'm tempted to lean Madison just because of the way that it has gone this year. So, man, I'm making enemies all over the state tonight with these predictions. I'm gonna go Madison, actually.
The Rams have at least been competitive. They've been putting up points before tonight. Just 3. You don't love that, but they put up 21, 27, 21, 35, and then at least 2 scores every single week until tonight. So the Rams haven't been getting wins. You got to learn that process. It's been a while for them since they've been a team that's been competitive like this, though. So even for just a 1-win school who beat Worcester, and like you said, that's kind of bizarre too.
They took the Arrows to overtime.
Yeah.
Almost beat the #1 team in the league, who gets Lexington at home in Week 10. Let's see, who's Ashland got next week? At Worcester. So obviously a very winnable game for them to try to be 9-0 going into that. Firelands Conference, the last league that we want to keep an eye on, and there's one of those undefeateds in Monroeville, one of the 6 here in our coverage area that remains perfect so far on the campaign. Western Reserve right behind them, and we got St. Paul versus Crestview tomorrow. Let's take more predictors, Andy. You've seen each of those teams, right? What are you feeling about that game?
I have. Man, it's. Whew. Man, you're really making me do this. I'm gonna go St. Paul. I think I'm gonna go St. Paul just because they're at home, and I think that these two teams are almost identical in the way that they had just atrocious starts to their year and have started to figure it out here in the second half of the season. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be low scoring. But I'll take St. Paul. I'll go St. Paul here.
Crestview has
I can't wait
beat their
to run
last
this
3
back.
opponents 158-6. The 3 bottom feeders, of course, in the Firelands Conference, but you're right. St. Paul kind of did the same thing, 0-3, back-to-back victories where they won 64-0. They get trashed by Western Reserve. They bounce back 55-0. They win last week. This is kind of a pick'em game, but the winner of this one probably going to end up second place in the league, potentially, which is crazy to think about.
Give me the Cougars.
By the way,
give me the Cougars.
You're going Cougars? Okay. By the way, in the Firelands Conference tonight, too, South Central was hanging with Western Reserve, I think, through most of the game and might have led in the third quarter if the scores I were seeing were correct. I think it was like 15-12 South Central. I think Western Reserve ended up winning like 41-15. But that's a South Central team that's trying to build something, and these are kind of the steps that you want to take. Obviously, moral victories, you know, those don't go into the win column, but like they are starting to potentially get somewhere. Because they've played tough this year.
Yeah, they end up getting beat, of course, tonight by multiple scores. But yeah, tomorrow, very intriguing game that Joshua Banks, you're going to be on the call. So obviously I'm not going to ask you to make a prediction. But you see two teams that they're starting to turn the corner, of course, and they're picking up some big wins right now. So there's a little bit of juice behind this one at this point in the season that we didn't necessarily forecast after 3 weeks into the calendar year, or at least the schedule, I should say, and they were both winless.
Yeah, I think it's typical Crestview and St. Paul football. They start off slow, they figure out a way. It's something that we've become accustomed to seeing from them. St. Paul started off the same way last year, rallied off 5 or 6 in a row, won a couple games in the playoffs. I mean, it's just what we've come to see from the Flyers and the Cougars. It's going to be a lot of fun to be in that atmosphere at Contractor Stadium and just have a blast calling what could be a very competitive game.
In less than 18 hours.
Yeah.
You know, Crestview, the only team to actually score in a Firelands game against Monroeville this year. 4 straight shutouts for them.
They're good.
Just been
that's why they're
smacking
state
everybody.
ranked, and that's why they're right behind Hillsdale, already locked up home playoff game up there as well. Speaking of Monroeville, I get the Lady Eagles volleyball tomorrow against Cary. That should be a good match. Or later today, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 10 a.m. we got that. 10 a.m. as well. We've got the KMAC Cross Country Championships. I'm going to be on the call for that one as well. So we're going to tuck you in Betty Bye here, Andy, because we got to go do the same here for a couple hours before we get off to our other games. But yeah, give it up. Tribe.
12 hours
to get
from now.
back-to-back victories. I know we
First
got to take
pitch,
down
baby.
the Cy Young Award winner, but it's our time. It's our city.
Hey, you know what though? We have the opportunity, and that's all you can ever ask for. So, if it ends later today, you win out against the best pitcher in baseball. What else can you do other than tip your cap and get back to next season? But you know what? Let's go. Today is going to be just an incredible day for Ohio football or Ohio sports in general. So let's go. I'm excited for the grind. That'd be my emotions.
So we're going to start the day. We got the volleyball. We got the cross country. Then we got the Tribe playing at home, trying to knock off the Tigers. Then late night, of course, we've got St. Paul and Crestview. And then all the nightcap up in Eugene, Oregon. The Buckeyes, OH, baby, trying to get it done. A full day of sports in the Buckeye State. But we got to get some rest before that all happens. So
Will we
ta-ta
get
for
rest?
now,
I don't
guys.
know.
Thanks for joining us here on the Pigskin Week 8 edition.